The rookies have reported. Let's talk some training camp. It's a Monday edition of Locked on Lions.
You are Locked on Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, let's plate this thing, everybody. Locked on Lions, Locked on Podcast Network. On a Monday, July 25th and a Tuesday, July 26th, we are just a couple of days away from training camp opening up in Allen Park. Matt Dery with you. Thank you for listening. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day right here on Locked on Lions. And today, we are brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. You can follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, D-E-R-Y Speaks, at Locked on Lions on Twitter, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page, and, of course, watch us each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to Locked on Lions on YouTube, where you can watch us each and every day, and we appreciate you doing so. And for those of you that comment daily as well on the YouTube page. Coming up on the show. All right, here we go. Training camp is this week, Wednesday to be exact. We're likely going to have Warren Sharp from Sharp Football on Thursday. We're going to sprinkle in a guest or two in the next couple of days, but it's exciting. Football is here. It has arrived. You, the fans, can be there Saturday for the first open practice, but the team will report tomorrow and practice on Wednesday before getting into the open sessions of training camp to the media, to the general public starting on Sunday. Rookies reported on Saturday. We got some news on that coming up, including one rookie who is starting off on the PUP list. And I think it's a big concern, a very big concern when it comes to this player. We'll tell you about that coming up momentarily. Also, a little broadcast team news for you on the radio side. I will fill you in on that. That's a bit of an exclusive here. Aaron Glenn was on the Adam Schefter podcast. You're going to hear him talking about Jeffrey Okudah and what their timetable is for Okudah and what their expectations are for him. We'll get into that shortly as well. Also, the executive producer on Hard Knocks for HBO, Shannon Furman, spoke to the Free Press and had some comments about a player that they thought was impressive, which made me laugh. We'll get into that, and then the entire PUP list and NFI situation as well right here on Locked on Lions. I am hoarse today. Bear with me. I just spent the weekend in Nashville at Cooper Marodi's wedding. Shout out to Cooper and Kaylee. I've known Cooper the last couple of years working with his father. The Marodi family is awesome. Those of you might remember Cooper from Michigan hockey and now with the Philadelphia Flyers. But you go down to Nashville, this is how you come home sounding. Hoarse, exhausted, Nash Vegas. And that was a pretty wild time. All right, so here we are, right? Expectations high. I had a former student of mine, the great Brendan Shabath, called me today. He's at Michigan State now. He's a former student of mine at U of D Jesuit. He's like, I'll tell you something, Mr. Dery. All of these, yes, that's what these students called me. All of these expectations are crazy for the Lions. Can you believe it? And I said, yeah, I know. It's nuts. We're seeing all this stuff. And we had Jeff Rieger on last week from The Ticket talking about it. All of this money on Dan Campbell to be Coach of the Year, DeAndre Swift to be Most Improved Player. Folks really, really hardcore banging the over of 6.5 wins on betonline.net right now. It is crazy. It is absolutely nuts. But what's exciting is that because this baseball team in town is so bad, we're now waiting for something else. And for the Lions to get started and to see what will happen is very, very exciting. So rookies reported on Saturday, and the vets will report tomorrow. What does this all mean? Well, we know this. First and foremost, we're going to find out very early on what it's going to look like at practice with Hard Knocks and the folks from HBO being there to chronicle everybody's every move. That's number one. Number two, I think a lot of folks are going to be interested in seeing, starting on Wednesday, what the offense is going to look like and how Jared Goff is going to look. And number three, the Lions don't have one of their rookies there today, working out and ready to go. Josh Pascal, who, of course, was, I'm not going to say a surprise second-round pick, but I don't think somebody that everybody expected to be deemed worthy of that selection. But Pascal, of course, the edge rusher, played inside, played outside as a defensive lineman out of Kentucky, has been placed on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. Now, Dan Campbell back at minicamp and OTA said that Pascal, who got hurt at the end of his season last year with Kentucky with what's deemed a core injury, Campbell called it sort of an upper body injury and lower extremity, not upper body, lower extremity injury. And they want to be smart with him. He has not taken part in any of the mini camps, OTAs, or anything else. But right now, he is on the physically unable to perform list. Josh Pascal is going to have to play a big role for this team because, as we saw last season, this team, this defense, under Aaron Glenn improved. Now, scoring defense-wise, they were 31st in the league. They couldn't stop a nosebleed at times. And they couldn't rush the passer. All right? Other than Charles Harris, there was nobody getting to the passer. Now, you add Josh Pascal. You add Aiden Hutchinson. You bring Romeo Okwara back. We'll talk about momentarily. But Pascal's a guy that I was very intrigued about and by. And I'm concerned about this because a core injury, lower extremities, he hasn't played since last November. Here we are, late July. All right, we've known about Jamison Williams' injury. We've known that Romeo Okwara tore his Achilles last year in week 1. We've known about the torn ACL from Jeffrey Okudah and, all of that. Actually, sorry, ACL was Okwara, Achilles was Okudah. We've known about all of this. Even James Mitchell, who had an ACL injury at Va Tech, one of the Lions' mid-round picks, the tight end. He could be on the PUP list or even on the NFI list like Jamison Williams, which is the non-football injury list that they put him on. It's about when the injury happened. It happened when he was in college. So for Jamison. So it's a little bit different. But regardless, why didn't we know early on that Josh Pascal was going to miss all of this time? Is this something lingering? Is there something we don't know? It's a little concerning. Now, teams are not going to always be 100% open and honest about injuries. I get that. You remember the previous regime, Quinn and Patricia, they were horrible at it. This has a little Scotty Bowman kind of lower extremity, upper body. This has a little Scotty Bowman written all over it. But this is something to watch. Josh Pascal not being there yet. Could he be taken off the PUP list tomorrow or the next day or the next day? Yes. All right. That's very, very feasibly an option. As Jeremy Reisman points out at Pride of Detroit, players placed on the preseason, so this is before camp, PUP and NFI list are eligible to come off of the list and participate in camp at any time during the preseason. If a player remains on the list until the end of the preseason, teams have the option to place those players on the regular season PUP NFI list, which means they have to sit out the first 4 games of the season. It used to be 6 games, now it's 4. Players cannot be placed on the PUP NFI list once training camp starts. So keep an eye on the Josh Pascal thing. That's a little concerning to me that he is still having some injury concerns. All right, we're going to hear from Aaron Glenn. I've got a little bit of broadcasting news, Shannon Furman, on a player that they felt looked good when they were filming a little bit of mini camp. We'll do all of that and even some more injury news coming up momentarily here on Locked On Lions. But betonline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games, betonline.net. Find reviews and news of every league. That includes Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. If there's any time that I need to look up a point spread for something or an over-under, prop bets or anything, the best website to go to is betonline.net. It really is. It continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've got you covered. Head there today, betonline.net, or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so here we are, another year of training camp, another year of Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. And one of the stars that I think we're going to see on Hard Knocks in a couple of weeks, and somebody that I think has made a lot of waves and has made a lot of progress and people love is Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator of your Detroit Lions. He was interviewed recently on the Adam Schefter podcast on ESPN's podcast app and everything else. And he was asked about Jeffrey Okudah, who, of course, is coming back for a third season with the Lions and coming off that torn Achilles. Take a listen to what Aaron Glenn had to say in regards to Jeffrey Okudah and expectations for him this season. This courtesy of the Adam Schefter podcast on ESPN. Take a listen to this.
Again, Jeff Okudah. Listen, this guy had a really, really good training camp last year. Really good training camp. Now, we was with him that year, so that's what we know about Jeff. Obviously, we know about when he came out in the draft. We thought he was a pretty good player. But man, we have to get this injury bug off him so he can end up playing for us, so we can see exactly what we got. The thing is, we think we know what we got, but we have to be able to see it. All right. But I'll tell you, I give this player credit for busting his ass in the offseason and trying to get exactly where he needs to get so he can end up playing for us. So I'm looking forward to him having a really good camp, just like he did last year. But I'm looking forward to him being on the field for 17 games for us this year, going to the playoffs.
And that's realistic and within the expectations for where he's at right now?
That's exactly the expectation for that player. All right, that's exactly the expectations. And he knows that. All right, and we challenge him to that. And the thing about him, he's going to accept the challenge.
Be great to get him back for that defense.
No doubt it is. And just
all right, there it is. Interesting comments from Aaron Glenn on Jeffrey Okudah. Number one, he said playoffs. You heard that, right? I think we all heard that. You love the confidence of Aaron Glenn. 17 games heading into the playoffs. So that's number one, a comment about playoffs. I know hearing that for year two, and with this roster, which is still a work in progress, I think they're going to be better. I'm not ready to start dipping my toes into the playoff pool. Number two, this idea that we've got to get this injury bug off of him. Remember, Jeffrey Okudah did not play well as a rookie, then got hurt. Then last year, he only played one game. So, yes, they do have to get this injury bug off of him, but injuries are a part of football. I don't think Jeffrey Okudah is injury prone in 2 years. I think he's had some bad luck. It's the same thing when people say DeAndre Swift is always hurt. DeAndre Swift is a smallish running back taking a beating. But at Georgia, he played in pretty much almost every game. And he played in the SEC. Jeffrey Okudah played for the best team in the Big Ten, the best program in the Big Ten in Ohio State, and played in some big games. So I don't know if this is necessarily about an injury bug, and I also don't know if he's going to play in 17 games. What if he plays in 14 or 15? What if he has to miss a couple of games? What I want to see from Jeffrey Okudah is, yes, you want him out on the field. He's got to be a factor. But I want to see development. I want to see ball skills. They claim that last year he had a great camp. And then if you recall in the opener last year, he was getting chewed out on the sideline by Aubrey Pleasant in the loss to the Niners and made a mistake on the big play down the field against Deebo Samuel. I don't want to see those mistakes. I want to see the guy that was drafted at number 3 overall. I know by the previous regime. I get that. And stepping in front of a pass, knocking passes away, defending the ball. I'm not saying shut down half the field, but at number 3 overall, I want to see a good player. This notion of, well, we're going to ease him back, that I don't agree with. And that's why I like what Aaron Glenn said in regards to we expect him to play, we expect him to be good, 17 games, we got to get him on the field. So they're not babying him. They believe the talent is there. The question is it? We just don't know. Other than the Arizona game on the road 2 years ago when he had his first interception and there were some signs, he has not lived up to expectations. We will be able to place a label on him after this season. Either Jeffrey Okudah is going to live up to the hype or be a pretty good player, or he will be a bust. But to sit here and say, oh, he's got to play in 17 games, I'm not ready to go that far yet. But yes, I want to see somebody that is going to perform and perform at a high level. Because think about how much better this defense will be if you have an Okudah, You got an Oruwariye. Maybe Will Harris is playing some corner. Maybe Melifanu is able to play some safety. Jerry Jacobs comes back. We'll talk about him in a second. Then we're talking about a secondary here. And Mike Hughes, whom Pro Football Focus really deemed as having a very good year last year. So that's what gets me excited. A pass rush and some depth at cornerback. We got to tell you about our friends at Dave. Hindsight, of course, is 2020, and you can't change the past, folks. We know that. It's impossible to do. But what you can do is get a little help for your future self. Maybe you'd ask to borrow a little cash from somebody. That's uncomfortable. Now you can, though, and feel good about it with Dave. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill up your tank, buy a wedding gift, or catch up on bills. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hang-ups. There's no interest, no credit check needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app. You can as well to get that financial relief that you need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch, you need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from future you. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's D-A-V-E, Dave. Sign up for an extra cash account, get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Future you will thank you. A Monday edition of Locked On Lions, everybody. Training camp can open up this week. Very, very exciting times down in Allen Park. Dan Campbell and company with their second training camp. And this should be a lot of fun. I told you last year, and I've stayed on top of this, and you guys know the radio game is kind of my thing. I told you last year that there were some internal discussions that sources told me in regards to the radio broadcasts on 97 The Ticket last season. Dan Miller, of course, on play-by-play. Lomas Brown. Lomas Brown on color. As the analyst, and TJ Lang down on the sidelines. And there were some internal discussions throughout the season last year that I can tell you took place in regards to the future of the broadcast and whether or not Lomas was going to stay on as the radio analyst or not. And the thought of TJ Lang sounding very good, the former Lion, down on the sidelines as sort of a second analyst, and would he be elevated to the booth? I've been told that that is not happening this year, that they're going to keep it status quo. Dan is back as play-by-play. Lomas will be in the booth for color, alongside the great crew that they have with Mike Bratta, Joe Abramson, and, of course, the great engineer Al Rosenberg, and TJ down on the sidelines. So if anybody was thinking that there was going to be any change or anything like that, I don't think anybody's on pins and needles here regarding that. But no, there will be no change to the radio broadcast this season. And that's it. So Lomas will be back. So 17 more games in the preseason of Dan. And Dan, that's a big ask. We'll be back this year. So prepare yourself for that. Real fast, couple of injury notes. I mentioned this before. Jerry, so we know that Jamison Williams and linebacker Natrez Patrick have been placed on the non-football injury list. It's similar to PUP, where Romeo Okwara and Jerry Jacobs start off training camp. Now, again, Romeo coming back from that severe torn ACL and everything else, and it's going to take him some time to get back, and they're hoping that Romeo Okwara will be ready for the start of the season. Jerry Jacobs also tore up his knee last year, but he he Instagrammed out on his page the other day that he will be back soon. So that's a guy, an underrated guy that I liked watching play last year in Jerry Jacobs. The team also has time before training camp officially starts on Wednesday to announce other moves and other players that they could be putting either on the NFI list or on the PUP list. Be aware of that. But as of right now, Jeff Okudah, not on the physically unable to perform list. He has been working out. We've seen videos. He's posted videos coming back from the torn Achilles. I was limited a little bit in the Lions offseason program, but what a boost it would be if on Wednesday Okudah was out there and practicing with his teammates. So I think that's pretty cool and something that you need to watch out for. That is a definite possibility for the Lions to get Okudah out there, and it's huge. Final thing, the Free Press recently interviewed Shannon Furman, who is directing the Lions Hard Knocks show and is the senior producer for NFL Films. And she was on at Freep.com, and they asked her, Dave Burkett did, if there's anything that she noticed about the players and anybody that performed very well. And one thing that she said was, quote, one of the things I know that we're definitely interested in is his coaching staff, so I was kind of trying to watch for that. Everyone obviously knows Dan Campbell is going to be a big, big figure in the show, but he was more mild-mannered just in what I noticed. Aubrey Pleasant was someone who stood out to me. Defensive coordinator Coach Glenn also stood out. And then Burkett asked her about who stood out on the field, and she said, I'm not joking, Trinity Benson. Trinity Benson is someone that stood out to Shannon Furman. We've made many a joke on this podcast about Trinity Benson, who did have a pretty good minicamp. But I just find it funny that the first person that came out of her mouth, the player that was talked about by one of the producers, and I give Dave Burkett credit for getting her on Freak.com and do it for an interview, was Trinity Benson. So, hey, maybe the Lions have a wide receiver sleeper in Benson, but that's been the one move that you could argue that Brad Holmes has swung and missed on so far, sending draft picks to Denver for him, because there were so many games last year that Trinity Benson was deactivated. So maybe he'll step up and be a part of this wide receiver room, especially with Jamison Williams likely starting the year on the injured list. All right, that'll wrap it up for a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen. We are back again tomorrow.